Hey folks, how you doing? It's late September and I'm out cutting back a bed of hostas, which is a little bit early for me, but the bed behind me is just a giant bed of hosta I created because we're underneath sugar maple trees. It's shady all the time, it's dry all the time, and I really can't get much else to grow. I've just spent the last half hour, 45 minutes pruning 5 hosta with the, with my hand pruners, moving the wheelbarrow, pruning 5 more, and it's getting kind of old, the up and down of it. So I had an idea today to try something different, and it worked out really well. If I'm working in the garden and doing deadheading or just cutting things back for the fall, I would just bring my pruners and you just grab a clump of foliage and you just go ahead and cut it back, throw it in the wheelbarrow, and you just do this. You don't have to throw it right in the wheelbarrow. You could certainly just make a pile next to the plant and then come back and rake it up. But after your first 5 or so hosta, and then moving your knee pad, it's gonna get kind of old. So there was another video I did a few years ago where we talked about cutting back hosta, and what I usually end up doing is waiting until the frost hits them hard, the whole plant turns to mush, and the leaves basically die back. You just grab the leaves and just rip them all out. Because of where we're working, I really wanted to just get these cut back because all the hosta in this bed are going to trap the leaves. It's important to know that with hosta, all this growth you see above ground, this is going to die back to the roots. So once this dies back, this is never going to grow again. It's going to have new buds for next year. And no matter how crudely we cut it, this growth is done for the season, and that's important to understand. A few years ago, I picked up this Husqvarna battery-powered weed whacker, and I got to say that battery-powered weed whackers are game changers. It's quieter than a gas one, and it's almost half as much weight as a gas one. Because of those two factors, a ton easier to maneuver. So I can use this weed whacker pretty much like a pair of head shears or pruning shears. So what I'm gonna do is just go through this bed of hosta. I'm not gonna try to just go animal on these hosta, but just very, gently take off 1 or 2 inches at a time of the hostas at the base, maybe 1 inch or 2 above ground. Just cut them back that way, and then once I get everything cut back, I can then come back with a rake and rake it up. And I don't think I'd use this if I just had 5 or 6 or even 10 hosta in the garden. But if you've got a bed of a ton of hosta or maybe some other perennials you need to cut back, the weed whacker is a way that may work. Now, the reason it's going to work today is because we have had no frost yet. These hosta are still standing upright. Once the hosta get hit by frost, they're going to kind of, bend over and just become this mess, and then you can just use a rake to get them. But I thought I'd be proactive rather than reactive and get them out of here so I can clean my leaves up easier. Another neat thing about this weed whacker is it has high power mode, and then it's got what they call eco mode, which is like maybe 2/3 to half the power, probably 2/3. Eco mode is even quieter and the battery lasts longer, and it's really all I ever use with this machine unless I'm cutting some really tall grass. We definitely want to make sure, even though it's battery, that we have hearing protection, and we also have eye protection, and we want to make sure there's nobody else working in the area because this weed whacker can easily throw debris 50 to 60 feet, so no people or pets nearby. And also always make sure you're throwing your debris away from cars, car windows, house windows, things like that. I ended up with Hosta pants here. Make sure you've got, your safety glasses on. Doing this compared to pruning them by hand, that was probably about 3 or 4 minutes, whereas it probably would have taken me 10 to 15 to do the same area with just the pruners. So now we can just grab a rake and rake them up. And if we missed any, we can just get our pruners and clean them out of there. This is what the results look like when you use hand pruners, and it definitely is a nicer result. But once we come over here where we use the weed whacker, you can see it's a much coarser cut. I did spread some junk on the house nearby here. So again, make sure you got your safety glasses on and you're throwing all the junk away from you. It's a very viable way of doing it. And now I've got all the hosta in this whole bed cleared out, so I can blow my leaves with no trouble. If you have boots with or shoes with a good sole on them, you just take your shoe and you use your shoe just like a hoe. And now the weeds are gone. I can't really say that method is better than getting down on your knees with your pruners and pruning them back, but I can tell you it's a lot faster and there's less bending involved. Once there's a heavy frost, again, these hosta just turn to mush and they're never going to grow from those leaves again. I have been known to use that method for plants like astilbe as well. Sometimes it gets to be the end of the season and getting up and down all day gets old very quickly. So you try to find ways to do things a little easier. If you like the idea, you're welcome to use it. Please make sure you got some safety glasses on. You're aware of what's going on around you, because you will be kicking, dirt and debris up while you're doing that. Thanks for watching, folks, and have yourselves a wonderful day. We'll see you soon.